att ni alla hör mig. Jag har inte en sån stor röst. Men jag kommer att prata på engelska. Jag hoppas att det är okej. So I continue the rest of it in English. So my name is Nasrine Olson, and you can see the name of the project, which is called Suitcase, and it's spelled quite strangely. And there is a reason behind that. Initially, we had a name for our project that fitted perfectly to the acronym of suitcase in ordinary spelling. And then 1 or 2 weeks before our application went in, we realized that there is a company with the same name who does the same thing, and we didn't have time to negotiate with them, so we just decided to change the spelling of our project. So we still say suitcase, and the idea behind that was that suitcase could be a suitcase that you carry through your life with different tools in it, traveling from darkness to light, traveling through the journey of the life, and also that it would be a case of a suit that we were going to develop. So we kept the name, but that's the reason behind the strange spelling. So please remember how it's spelled if you want to connect with us. So what I'm going to talk today about is about the project, and I think it fits in with the theme of today well, which is digitalization of different tools for future, and this is what we are going to do. And as part of this, I give you a very quick background about the project, and then tell you about the 3 different challenges that we are going to solve within the project. So each one of these topics, I will talk a little bit about them. And many of you know the project already. We have connected with many of the people present here. So I'm sorry about the repetition of the beginning of the talk, but I think for the people who have not seen it, it might be interesting to see anyway. So Suitcase is a Horizon 2020 project. It started at the beginning of 2018, and it will continue to the end of 2020. We got a budget of 2.4 million euro for the project, and we were quite proud because I'm not sure if you are familiar with the Horizon scoring and getting funding. The top score that you can get is 15. You usually get funding by about 13 and a half. So 14 and a half, we were very proud of it, that it was very good. But unlike all of you, most of you, we didn't know much about issues of deafblindness until 2016. And so no competencies in the area at all. But I had the privilege of knowing Thomas, because he was a childhood friend of my husband, and we were discussing the different interesting projects that we were doing at Högskolan, and we have different departments. So mine is information science, and Nils Christer is textile department. So I was telling Thomas about the different things that we will be doing, and he said, think if those things could be done for people with deafblindness. And then the idea for the project started from that conversation, and I knew nothing about deafblindness. So we have gone through a speedy learning curve, and most of our knowledge has come from the colleagues who have joined our project and given us ideas about how things work. So within the project, we are 7 different partners. So University of Borås, we are the coordinators. Then we have a huge research center from Greece, which are called CERF. We have a university in Germany, University of Gothenburg, Technical University. Then we have University of Leeds from the UK. We have Eindhoven University of Technology from the Netherlands. We have a small non-profit making organization in France that make tactile books for children with blindness. And then we have a SME, a small organization that develops assistive technology for people with blindness, deaf blindness, and other issues. So in the project, we are dealing with deaf blindness, and we have adopted the definition of deaf blindness that comes from the Nordic definition, which I guess you are all very familiar with. And for us, it was important that it's not just deafness or blindness, it's a distinct problem that you cannot solve with one or the other, solving of one issue or the other. So this distinction, that it becomes a unique problem, it was important for us. That's the definition we adopted. And of course, when you want to apply for different projects, you have to describe the situation very well. And then we realized it's not very easy. Like, for example, just finding the number of people with deaf blindness is a huge problem, and we have no way of knowing it. So we looked into different reports that there are. For example, there is another EU project that estimated the number of deaf blindness within Europe to be over 2.5 million people. And if you look at this list, you will see that, for example, Sweden is not in the list. And if you look at, for example, United Kingdom, when we look at the organization Sense in the UK, they actually say that the number of the people with deaf blindness are much higher than this one. So we were thinking that probably there is quite a lot of people with deaf blindness in Europe. And then we realized when talking to people, when we were writing the application, that, for example, Mugord has about 100 clients, and you think that doesn't come to these numbers. So it's very gray areas what the numbers are. We also looked at other reports, for example, this report from the Federation of Deaf Blind, World Federation of Deaf Blind, and even there the numbers are quite high. So they are saying that, for example, persons with deaf blindness are between 0.2% and 2% of the global population. And if that's the case, it's a huge amount of people. So I think I would like to encourage everyone to find these numbers, because if it is really that high, the funding that you could apply for and receive would be a lot more. People always are saying that it's a very small problem and forget about it, while of course everyone in the society is important and we should find solutions for everyone. So deaf blindness is often underestimated, so something maybe we can do something about. Then also when it came to the research and we wanted to say how much we know about deaf blindness, there isn't really much done. So when I first started thinking about this project, there were around 750 scholarly publications that could be found on Web of Science. And if you compare that to other topics, like for example, if you look at blindness, it's 400,000. So if you compare how much research is done about these different topics, it's quite different. And then we were talking about creating something that would haptically communicate. And of all of those articles, only 25 items were about haptic communication. Since then, I've done this search again and again, and I'm writing an overview of the research in this. And right now, it's just over 1,000. So in the last 2-3 years, there has come quite a lot more. So it's getting momentum, but still, from 1,000 to 400,000 is quite a step to reach. So the idea for our project was like this, that of course we have a community of people with deaf blindness, and we wanted to improve something for them. And so the overall objective of Suitcase is to improve the level of independence and participation of people with deaf blindness. So for that, we thought if we could create something that can communicate haptically, we'll be taking one step forward towards that. So there are different worldviews about disability and how people see disability. So there is the traditional medical model. So there people are seen to be disabled by their impairments or differences. So the problem is the person who has a disability or impairment, so they cannot see, they cannot work, they cannot do this and that, and we need to solve the problem. So the problem is the person. While the model that we have adopted in the project is the social model of disability, and that's the worldview is that the oppression and exclusion, if it exists, it's because the way the society is organized and run. So here the problem is the way that we have organized our society and what we are doing in there, and not the person. Like for example, I was looking at our work. When we open the door at my work, there are dots on the floor to show how you open the door inwards or outwards. I see that and I think they have gone one step to help me to know which way that I am opening the door. Why not for the next person who cannot see? So why is it so open? Everyone knows that we have to solve the problem. For example, for traveling, we have cars and we have roads and we have infrastructure for most of us. So why is that the normal? Why is it not normal to fix the problem for everyone? So that's what we are doing, that it's not the problem that the person with the blindness has. It's the way we have organized our society that we do not meet everyone's need. We privilege some people above other people. So in the social model, disability is caused by the way society is organized rather than by a person's impairment or differences. And it looks at ways of removing barriers that restrict life choices. If barriers are removed, one can be independent and equal in society with choice and control over one's own life. So this independent living is our goal, and in the independent living way of thinking, they have redefined independence not to mean that you are self-sufficient and you can do everything on your own. So the independent here is redefined as self-determination. So you have possibility to decide how your life should be performed. So the idea for the project started before we wrote the application. We thought that we have a society and we have buildings and we have a lot of information around us, and Internet of Things is becoming more and more common. And of course there are a lot of negative things that can happen with Internet of Things and collecting data about every person and everything. And we were looking at doing something positive with it. So we thought, if everything has beacons and whatever, for example, in Internet of Things, we will have this around 340 trillion internet addresses. So you could actually put identifiers on every little thing that you have. So we all have things that we could put some address on it, IP address on it, so for it to be findable. And then we thought, it's not just the things around us, there is a lot of information coming up around us, like I'm talking right now. So if a person cannot hear me, they are not receiving this information, so they don't know where things are, they cannot hear what I'm saying. And there is also all of the different apps and possibilities that are on the internet that might also be difficult to capture. So we thought, if we create a garment, and please remember this red dress. So it was at the time of our thinking of the project. So we thought, if we have a garment, then a person who, and this garment had the possibility of capturing all of this information that is around us, then it could communicate that to the person that wears it. So the person who wears it becomes also informed like the rest of us would be. So that was the idea, and my colleague will come back to this red dress. And for that to happen, then we looked around in Europe and we found many different competencies, from disability studies to social media studies to psychophysics to sensor technologies, all of the things that you see in front of you. So we looked for expertise within Europe and we found them in the 7 partners that we found. And we thought that we bring all of those knowledge and expertise together to create something that we call HIPPI. And HIPPI stands for Haptic Intelligent Personalized Interface. And it will do 3 different things. So those are the 3 challenges that we have within our project. So the 3 challenges are perception of the environment. So if you are deafblind and you cannot see what's happening around you, what is around you. Then once we have captured the information about what is in the room, we want to also be able to tell the person, okay, the room looks like this. So that communication and exchange of semantic content is our second challenge. And then we thought it will take some learning to use whatever tool we might come up with. So that was an idea to gamify learning for people, but we also thought that in education and children, like in SPSM, that they work with children, we might facilitate learning for children with some gamified way of teaching. And we also thought that if you are a person with deafblindness, you probably don't have as much fun as many other people have and all of the funny things that we can all do. So we thought we can actually create some games that would add some fun thing to their life. So for gamification part of our project, we had 3 different thoughts behind them. So these are the 3 things that the project tries to address. And the way we are doing it, so for example, if you have a garment, it could have some cameras and other sensors on it and capture the world and then do some processing and whatever, and then come back and give some information to the wearer of that clothes. So for the first challenge that we have to understand the world around us, then we are using sensors and cameras. So we are sensing the environment that the person can be in. And so we are using different technologies, and for example, there are 5 kinds of sensors that we have been experimenting with. So depth camera, ultrasonic sensor, and different things. And we have been experiencing, like for example, if this is an image, it can send some information how the border of something is. And our aim is in the end that whatever we are creating, it will look natural and it would be embedded in the clothing that you are wearing. But for our experiments, they don't look like that. So you can see this device here, which has cameras and sensors. So right now we are experimenting with that, but hopefully it will look different by the time we are finished. So for now, we, for example, put this sensor and other cameras and stuff on a belt like that, and a person walks around. And when they are moving around, we have another handheld screen that shows what it is that it's capturing about the room around them. So it will look like this. So the different sensors work together. There is a sensor fusion that brings all that information together. And then it will help with collision avoidance, wayfinding, and location, and stuff like that. And it will show an area that is free to walk around for the person who is, so it gives some orientation guidance with this. So this is one part of our sensing of the world with these sensors. So what can happen is that it will show an ellipse of safe area around the person. And for example, if a person is walking in a walkway and there are walls around them, it shows them where is the middle line between the ellipse so they can walk without colliding to different things. And it can tell them to, for example, turn right or left. And we can come back to this if we have time to discuss it. Like, for example, our reviewer said, you shouldn't try to find an empty area to walk in the middle of it. They said people have canes and they want to see the wall and walk by that. And now we have to decide, for example, is that how we always want to do it, or can we do something different? And we would welcome your feedback on that as well. So that's for the sensor things that look at the objects, the obstacles and freeways and stuff like that. Then we have cameras as well. And for the cameras, then we do real-time object detection and recognition. So for example, the camera that you saw here would see in front of it, and it would, for example, look at all the objects that are there, and it will tell what it thinks it is. And it also has a number right now that shows the level of confidence that this thing, 90% of confidence is, for example, a bottle or a cup. So the closer you become, the more accurate the sensing and detection would be. And this is real time, so it's not that it takes time to tell you 5 minutes from now that what it was. As you are walking, it will tell you there is a glass here and there is a bottle there and stuff like that. Then we have real-time object detection and tracking, so so continuation of that, so you can see many different things. But you can see the number of things that we have right now trained our system to detect. And of course it cannot detect everything, and you have to train it on everything that you think is necessary to know. So if you think of other things that should get priority, those are the things that we can then take to our colleagues to put in their set of things that they can recognize. But these are the things that we are testing with, and it has worked so far. Then we have also face detection. So here you can see even tiny little faces. They are detected as a face. So some of, like for example, this person is a tiny little face coming above the papers, and it's still recognized that it's a face. And even in the dark side, you can see that it has recognized faces. Then we have also face recognition. So we can train the system to tell them that, for example, this person is our colleague, Panos, and when a number of people are in front of the camera, it can recognize, okay, this person was the person that we know, and it's Panos. And if it's not among the trained known faces, then it will identify the face as unknown. So we have a number of known persons, and some, the rest of the people, of course, are unknown. We also have scene recognition. So for example, if the camera goes there or there, it detects that that's probably a bathroom with 41% level of certainty, and this one is a closet, and this one was yeah. So you can, and closer you become, it becomes more accurate. Then we have something for activity recognition as well. So the third person, when they are moving, it can detect some of the things people are doing. So we have an ontology that collects all of this information, and so we have the sensor and whatever, there is a detection happening, and it will recognize whether it's a person, known or unknown, whether it's an activity that's going on, it's an object, it's a space, and then it will give us some output and some, perhaps some message to the bearer or some alert or other stuff. So that was our first challenge that I mentioned. We are doing 3 different things. The second thing is that, okay, now we have to then tell the person that this is happening. So we are coming to our second challenge, which is semantic representation and reasoning. And then we have been inspired by the work that has been done in the social haptic communication that I saw earlier on over there, that you most probably I'm very familiar with. So different gestures on the back or the body can mean different messages. And so we are thinking of using the different body parts. So far we have only experimented on the back, but we are then going to add other parts to it. So the idea is that we will have some kind of actuators. So we will have a clothing, and it will have space on it that my colleague will show you soon. And in those you can put different actuators, vibrators and stuff like that, like a pixel. And then by activation of them in different formats, we can mimic the messages that you are doing with hands on the back of the person or on the arms of the person. So, for example, we are going to have a set of static messages and some that are dynamic. And these are just when we weren't really looking at the actual messages. So please don't ignore, this doesn't have to mean in. This is just to demonstrate how it works. But the actual messages will be, we are capturing them right now. So for example, if this could mean in or that could be on, then we could push this on the clothing so people could feel it. So we could have static shapes, or we could have dynamic. For example, stand could have that type of formation, or door could be this. So some of them come all in at once, some of them come in duration one after another. So for example, a sentence could be, this was when we, this is an earlier test, we have come further away from this. But for example, initially we thought that a sentence could start with something and could finish with something, so the person knows that the sentence is finished now, and then we could have some different words in between. So this could be, that an unknown person is standing by the door. But our colleagues told us you don't need to start and finish, and people normally know when a message starts and finishes, so we are going away from that start and finish part, and we are doing different things. So the third one in our challenges was the gamification and joyful learning and life experiences, and for that we are creating some different games that we are experimenting with, so that they could, for example, help a person learn the route to different things and do different. So here we have 10 gamified scenarios for enriching experiences that have been tested and have been worked on, and we will be doing more of that in a month's time. I don't really mention that much of that, but there are other things that we have also done. So we have, for example, done 81 interviews with 79 participants, and they have been mostly people with deaf blindness, but we have also had experts, and we have had family members, and we have talked about what technology they are using, what do they need to use, what are their needs and stuff like that to feed into the project to tell us what we need to do. And then we have a policy study that we are looking at the 5 different countries of the academic countries of the project. So they are Sweden, UK, Netherlands, Germany and Greece. And we are looking at what sort of policies there are at their national level and what are they offering for people with impairments or various disabilities. And that has started in some of the countries. We are still looking for a person, a researcher in Germany. Then we have had a number of publications and presentations at different conferences and stuff like that, which you can look at if you have time, and look at our webpage. we have had a lot of press. So the idea with press is not just to say, oh, we've done a good job. The idea is that we really didn't know when we started the project. We knew nothing about deafblindness. And then we learned there is so much to learn and everything is so fascinating. So we are thinking that we have a platform so we can start this informing of the general public about the issues of deafblindness. And the more people are informed, we are hoping that there will be more resources and more thinking. So when we are designing something, we also think of all of the other people that normally are forgotten in this type of development. So we do have, for example, we have had interviews in for example, radio. We have had some reports in the science program in Sweden. We suddenly were listening to a very popular radio program and they were talking about the project. So it's spreading a little bit. And in fact, the day that we had our symposium in the national Swedish television, they had a person with deafblindness who talked about deafblindness. So there are things happening and we can help each other to spread that information even more. We could connect with each other more, and the more we create a buzz, the more information goes out to the society. Then we are also very interested in making networks, and we already started with that before the project because we of course didn't know much about the issues. So we started with SPSM and the NKCDB in Sweden, and then we learned about Mogård, and then we learned about the Danish partners, then we learned about the Nordic welfare. So we are really trying to connect with as many people as possible. And the problem is that before the project, I approached SPSM, another organization, and I wanted them to be part of the project, and it wasn't working because they had different assignments, and they couldn't be receiving money for doing their work and things. So in the end, they decided that they would allow some of their staff to have some hours to dedicate to our project without the project needing to pay them. So they became our advisors without payment. And then after that, we have found other people, including ICOLT, but then we had not allowed for funding within the project to allow us to do this type of connection with more people. But we are very happy that they also have become part of our advisors in the project. And in fact, for a while, we were trying very hard to get Ambrit to become our project manager. But the technical things, administrative things didn't work out. But we are very happy to have expertise from ICOLT into the project, as well as these other organizations. But we are looking for, so what we are going to produce is a platform. It will not solve any problem. It will be proof of concept. It will not be a product ready for the market. So what we want to do is to create enough network around us and other developers so that even when the project finishes next year, there will be enough momentum to continue with what we have started and make it a product and bring it to the market. So we are very, very keen to network with people who can help us with this, who are technical and can develop further this. So please remember us when you have connections and bring these contacts within the project and your different organizations. And something that we had not thought about, of course, we did the 80 interviews that we had promised in that proposal, but our reviewers say we're very keen that we become even more involved with users. So users are with us when we are designing the different things, when we are making design decisions, what should we do, how should we do it, and stuff like that. So we are very keen to find possibilities to co-design with the end users. And for us, users are both people with deaf blindness. There are organizations and support systems that they have, and their family people. So if any of you are interested in collaborating with us and could participate in this type of co-design things, we are very well open to any suggestions and things. So yes, connect with us. We welcome new connections and potential collaborations. We don't have money. Yesterday when we were talking, Thomas said, it's not the question of what Suitcase can do for you. It's the question of what can you do for Suitcase. So if you have the possibility to work with us, but of course we can seek further funding. So if you have the interest to work with us, there are many areas that we can develop a lot further, and we don't have within the 3 years of the project the possibility or the fund to do. So we can together write new applications and do other things together. So we are here, and we welcome your collaboration. And so we have a website that you might like to look at and see what we are doing. And remember the spelling of the Suitcase. We also have a little bit of social media on YouTube and Twitter and whatever, and it's I think it would be really good if you connect with us there and we connect back to you. All of these connections in terms of internet actually make a statement, and we can build on them and create a more informed society about issues of deaf blindness together. So, and if you want to contact me, this is my email address, and you're very welcome. And thank you very much that you invited us to come here. It's really nice to see all of you here, and it has begun to become like a family meeting here. And my colleague Nils Christer now will tell you a little bit more about one aspect of the project, which is about the textile part. But before I give the floor to Nils Christer, do any of you have any questions or comments? Oh well, then